I fed a program called Novel AI the entire plot of One Piece, plus a detailed summary of the latest manga chapter, and it wrote a potential end for the story. Potential spoilers if you're not caught up to the manga. If you like this kind of thing, please subscribe. Thanks. Yamato's first day on the ship is a success, as he manages to steal the crew's lunch. While Luffy and the others are eating, they hear a loud thud from above, and look up to see Yamato being tossed off the deck. They rush to save him, but it's too late. Yamato falls to his death. The crew is devastated, but Luffy tries to cheer them up by claiming, "It's not the end of the world." However, after hearing the news, the Straw Hats head straight for the Grand Line, leaving Wano behind. "I'm gonna make you eat your own words. I'll show you what real power is," Luffy, when challenged by Kizaru. After leaving Wano, the Straw Hats arrive in the New World. There they meet Kizaru, who challenges Luffy to a duel. Luffy agrees, but he has no intention of losing. After the fight, Kizaru reveals he's a member of the Blackbeard Pirates, and that he wants to join the Straw Hats crew. Luffy accepts, and the two pirates share a meal together. Meanwhile, the Marine Commander, Commander Garp, is informed by the Admiral that the Straw Hats have entered the New World. Garp is told to intercept them, and he orders the Marines to prepare for battle. Meanwhile, Luffy and Kizaru continue their journey through the New World. The two pirates soon encounter a mysterious man named Kuma, who claims to be a god. When Luffy and Kizaru question him, he explains that he's actually a spirit who's been watching over the New World since its creation. He also informs Luffy that there are many gods who watch over different aspects of the New World, and that he is one of them. He offers Luffy a chance to become one of these gods himself, and the Straw Hats accept. Kuma then teaches Luffy how to use the powers of a god. He begins by teaching Luffy how to control his body, and Luffy is able to move freely without any pain or fatigue. Next, Kuma shows Luffy how to manipulate his surroundings. Luffy is shown how to create objects out of thin air, and how to destroy anything he wishes. Lastly, Kuma teaches Luffy how to change his appearance. Luffy can alter his height and weight, and even grow wings if he desires. Luffy is delighted by his newfound abilities, and he uses them to impress the other pirates. However, he quickly realizes that the power of a god isn't all fun and games. It comes with a price, and Luffy must constantly keep himself in check. If he lets his emotions get the best of him, he could easily cause chaos throughout the New World. One day, while searching for food, Luffy meets a girl named Roroa, who is traveling alone. She introduces herself, and says she's looking for a place to stay for the night. Luffy invites her to come aboard his boat, and the two begin talking. As Luffy and Roroa talk, he notices a strange smell coming from the fish he's cooking. Curious, he goes to investigate, only to discover that the fish has begun to melt. He panics, but Roroa calms him down and explains that this is normal for the New World. Fish in the New World don't die because of old age or illness. Instead, they simply melt away. Later, Luffy and Kizaru encounter a group of men who claim to be the king's guards. They demand that Luffy hand over his sword, and Luffy refuses. The guards attack Luffy and Kizaru, but they're stopped by a mysterious man dressed in black. The man introduces himself as Kuzan, and he explains that he's a former pirate who turned his back on the sea. He explains that the reason the pirates attacked Luffy is because they were ordered to do so by the king. Kuzan tells Luffy that the king is trying to kill the gods who watch over the New World. He also warns Luffy that the king will stop at nothing to achieve his goal. The next morning, Luffy and Kizaru go fishing again. This time, they catch a huge fish. After cleaning the fish, Luffy decides to cook it for dinner. But before he can start cooking, he hears a voice calling his name. He turns around to find a young boy staring at him. The boy introduces himself as Kurukuru Hoshigami, and he asks Luffy to teach him how to cook. Luffy obliges, and teaches the boy everything he knows about cooking. As Luffy and the boy work together, they realize that they have a lot in common. Luffy and Kuzan later meet up with the boy, who has become a skilled chef. Kuzan gives the boy some advice, telling him that he should leave the New World as soon as possible. Kuzan explains that the king is planning to invade the New World, and that he doesn't want the boy to get caught up in the conflict. The next day, Luffy and Kuzan spot a large ship heading towards the New World. It appears to be an Imperial vessel, and Kuzan recognizes the man standing on the deck as a member of the Blackbeard Pirates. The ship reaches the New World, and Luffy and Kuzan follow behind. When the ship docks at a port, Luffy and Kuzan sneak aboard and head straight for the captain's room. There, they confront the man who introduces himself as Captain Kuro. Kuro explains that he was once a member of the crew of the Whitebeard Pirates, and that he now serves the king. He reveals that he's been ordered to capture Luffy, and that he intends to take him back to the capital. Luffy and Kuzan attempt to fight off Kuro's guards, but they're overpowered. Luffy tries to escape through a window, but he slips and falls to the ground below. Luffy awakens to find himself tied up inside a cage. He looks around to see that he's in a dark cave, and he sees a figure standing in front of him. The figure introduces itself as Kuma, and it apologizes for not being able to save him earlier. Luffy is shocked to learn that Kuma is actually one of the 4 Heavenly Kings. He's amazed that a god would show such kindness to a mere human, and he thanks Kuma for saving him. Kuma tells Luffy that he needs to return to the New World right away. He explains that the king plans to invade the New World to obtain the power of the gods. Kuma then takes Luffy to a nearby village, where he meets up with the other 3 emperors. They tell Luffy that Kuzan was killed during the battle with Kuro's men, and that Kizaru is currently unconscious. The 3 emperors are worried about Luffy's safety, but they agree that he should remain in the New World until the invasion begins. They promise to protect him, and they give Luffy their swords to help defend the New World. After hearing the news of Kuzan's death, Luffy breaks down in tears. He begs the emperors to let him join them in fighting against the king. The emperor agrees to allow Luffy to accompany them, but he warns that Luffy must stay out of sight while they travel. Luffy and the emperors continue their journey across the New World, and they eventually reach a small town. The emperors decide to rest here for the night, and they prepare a feast. While eating, Luffy notices a strange symbol carved onto the table. The next morning, Luffy wakes up to find the emperors gone. He runs outside to look for them, only to discover that the entire town has disappeared. Luffy realizes that someone, or something, is using magic to erase all traces of civilization from the area. Luffy continues to search for the emperors, and he finds a group of pirates hiding in a cave. He tells the pirates that he wants to join their crew, and they welcome him aboard. As he travels with the pirates, Luffy learns more about the history of the New World. The island used to be called the Land of Fish, and it was home to a peaceful community. However, the land began to sink after a great earthquake, and the residents were forced to move to higher ground. The people of the New World learned that the earthquakes were caused by a mysterious force known as the God of Waves. The God of Waves is said to be a powerful sea god, and he created the New World in order to create a safe place for humans. One day, the God of Waves decided to visit the New World. He brought his daughter, the Goddess of the Waves, along with him. She wanted to meet her father's creation face to face, so she traveled across the ocean to the New World. The villagers welcomed the goddess with open arms, and they offered her food and drink. Afterward, the goddess asked the people if they could grant her one wish. The villagers told the goddess that they'd do whatever she wished, and she replied that she just needed a few minutes to think. While the goddess was thinking, the villagers took advantage of the opportunity to attack. They captured the goddess and dragged her back to their village. The villagers claimed that they had no choice because the goddess was a god, and they didn't want to anger her. However, the goddess managed to escape her captors. She ran away from the village and found herself in a forest. As she looked around, the goddess realized that this wasn't the New World that she knew. She soon discovered that the New World was actually an illusion created by the God of Waves. The god's true intention was to keep the goddess trapped in the New World forever. The goddess tried to leave the New World, but the God of Waves stopped her. He explained that he created the New World as a prison, and he planned to use the goddess's powers to destroy the world. The goddess was horrified to hear the truth, and she begged the God of Waves to release her. However, the god refused to listen. Instead, he sent his servants to kill the goddess. The goddess managed to escape the God of Waves' servants and return to the New World. She destroyed the illusion that the god created, which freed her from her imprisonment. The goddess then used her powers to create a new world. She placed the people in the new world inside a protective bubble, and she gave them the power to control the waves. The goddess hoped that this would prevent anyone from ever attacking the new world again, but the god of waves heard about her plan. He created a giant wave and flooded the new world. The goddess was unable to stop the flood, and she drowned in the ocean. The goddess's body washed ashore on an island, and it became known as the Goddess Island. Her spirit remained on the island, and she continued to watch over the people living there. The story of the goddess is passed down through generations, and the people of the New World believe that she will return someday to save them. Luffy and the pirates continue to search for the Emperors, and they eventually find a small village. The villagers tell Luffy that the Emperors have been searching for him since they left the previous town. The Emperors explain that they need Luffy's help to defeat the God of Waves. Luffy asks what he can do to help, and the Emperors reply that he'll learn how to fight when they arrive at their destination. After traveling for some time, Luffy and the Emperors finally reach the God of Waves' lair. The Emperors are shocked to see that the God of Waves has transformed into a huge monster. The God of Waves attacks the Emperors, and they manage to hold him off long enough for Luffy to jump into the fray. Luffy defeats the God of Waves, but he still doesn't understand why the God of Waves is trying to destroy the New World. The Emperors explain that the God of Waves plans to use his powers to destroy the New World and bring it under his rule. The Emperors also reveal that the God of Waves is none other than the King of the New World, who was once known as the Great Demon King. The king was born on a small island far from the New World, and he grew up surrounded by monsters. One day, the king was attacked by a group of bandits. The king defeated the bandits, and he used their bodies to build himself a fortress. The king built a castle made out of the bandits' corpses, and he named his fortress the Demon Castle. Over the years, the king's castle began to grow larger and larger. It eventually became the largest building in the New World. As the king got older, he started to feel lonely. His loneliness drove him insane, and he decided to destroy the entire New World. He gathered all the people in the New World together and ordered them to give him their powers. The people were terrified, but the king promised to protect them if they cooperated. The king collected the power of each person, and he used it to transform himself into the God of Waves. The king then unleashed his powers upon the New World. He turned the sky red, and he caused a massive earthquake. The king hoped that the destruction would scare everyone away so he could be alone in peace. Unfortunately, the king's plan failed. The people of the New World formed a resistance against the God of Waves, and they managed to drive him out of the New World. The people of the New World buried the God of Waves deep underground, and they sealed the entrance to his lair. They then created the New World as a place where no one would ever attack them again. The Emperors try to convince Luffy not to get involved with the God of Waves, but Luffy refuses to back down. He tells the Emperors that he wants to help defeat the God of Waves and restore peace to the New World. The Emperors show Luffy how to use his Devil Fruit powers to fight the God of Waves, and Luffy takes on the God Soldiers single-handedly. Luffy finally manages to defeat the God of Waves, and he finds a piece of his heart and uses it to seal the God of Waves' powers away. After defeating the God of Waves, Luffy decides to stay in the New World to help rebuild it. Luffy returns to the Straw Hat Pirates after the battle with the God of Waves. The crew is shocked to see that Luffy looks much different from before. He no longer has any scars or tattoos, and he now has golden hair, blue eyes, and white skin. With his powers restored, Luffy feels rejuvenated and full of energy. He promises to continue his role as the leader of the Straw Hat Pirates, and he hopes to one day find the legendary treasure known as One Piece. The crew continues its search for the One Piece. They reach a tropical island, and they discover a giant stone statue of a woman. When they approach the statue, they realize that it's a mermaid. The mermaid tells the Straw Hats that she's the guardian spirit of the island. She explains that the statue was placed there to prevent anyone from stealing One Piece. The mermaid also reveals that the One Piece is hidden somewhere on the island. The mermaid leads the Straw Hats to a mountain where they can find One Piece. the Straw Hats climb to the top of the mountain, and they discover a huge treasure chest containing One Piece. However, the treasure is guarded by a mysterious creature. The creature turns out to be a whale shark, which is bigger than any other fish in the ocean. The whale shark chases the Straw Hats around the island, and it keeps coming closer and closer. Finally, the Straw Hats manage to lure the whale shark into a cave on the top of the mountain. Inside the cave, they find a small room filled with dozens of One Pieces. One of the One Pieces appears to have been taken from the sea, but it's still intact. One Piece is a treasure that weighs more than a ton. However, the One Piece easily floats through the air. The One Piece can only be used by someone with the ability to fly. The One Piece is too heavy to carry, so the Straw Hats decide to leave it behind. Jinbei, however, feels that he should take One Piece with him. He says that he'll repay the Straw Hats for their kindness. He wants to be a strong, kind-hearted man, like Sanji. Jinbei leaves the cave with One Piece, and he tries to use it to fly. Unfortunately, Jinbei falls to his death when he accidentally drops the treasure while trying to lift himself off the ground. After Jinbei's death, the rest of the crew decides to leave the island without retrieving One Piece. However, Luffy vows to return to the island one day and retrieve the treasure. Luffy eventually returns to the island, and he retrieves One Piece. He then discovers an ancient text that explains the true power of One Piece. The text says that One Piece is actually a relic from an ancient civilization called the Kingdom of Pescador. One Piece is a weapon capable of destroying entire civilizations. According to the text, the weapon was created by the kingdom's emperor, and he used it to wipe out all the kingdoms on the eastern side of the Pacific Ocean. The king of the Pescadors wanted to conquer the world, but his empire collapsed soon after he discovered the power of One Piece. His empire crumbled because One Piece was able to destroy any army sent against it. The people of Pescador quickly realized that the emperor's actions were wrong. They decided to hide One Piece in a place where no one would ever find it. Luffy decides to leave One Piece on the island where Jinbei died. He chooses not to reveal the location of the island, and he leaves One Piece inside the cave where he found it. Luffy thinks this will keep the legend of One Piece alive. If you enjoyed the video, I'd love if you subscribed. And if you'd like to see more One Piece content, or more AI endings for other series, let me know in the comments. Thanks.